Apple is finally admitting they were wrong and making some huge changes to the next iPhone to make it better than it's ever been before, and admitting they just couldn't do it on their own. Apple's first event of the year, WWDC, is finally confirmed, and we've got some all-new leaks on iOS 18, visionOS 2, and a lot of big features that Apple fans have been asking for years that are finally coming. So let me break down what we know about WWDC, Apple's first big event of the year, what we will see, what we won't see, and why I've got to admit that the Android fanboys, they were right all along. I feel like in a typical year, Apple's June developer conference isn't really the most exciting thing for most people. I mean, if you're a developer, you can dive into the sessions and the resources and all that is well and good, but for us sort of regular consumers, not super exciting. We usually like the spring event and the fall event and other stuff, but in 2024, this is basically all we've got, and it's exciting for two main reasons. One is that, well, there hasn't been any other event, so we're all clamoring for an Apple event, so this is all we've got. And the second reason, though, is that according to leaks and rumors and everything we are hearing right now, the software updates we will see at this year's WWDC are expected to be pretty significant and might actually be the biggest updates we have seen, according to some reports, basically ever. But before I jump into what we will see, let me take just a moment and tell you what we won't see taking up any time at that June event, and talk about a couple of big Apple products coming that won't be coming at that event. For example, brand new iPads, OLED iPad Pros, larger, cheaper iPad Air, all that stuff is super exciting and will not be at WWDC, but it won't be there for good reason because it should be launching before that event happens in June. According to the latest rounds of leaks and rumors and reporting from Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg, looks like after a lot of delays, early May, hopefully, is going to be the timeline now when we will finally get some new iPads. Apple hasn't updated any iPad in the lineup for over a year now, I want to say. It's been, I think, like the longest in ever since any iPad has gotten an update. That should finally be stopping in May, where we get new iPad Pros and the new iPad Air that will be launching before WWDC. So no iPads at WWDC, but that's a good thing, not a bad thing. The second thing we likely won't see is the iPhone 16. We've got some all new dummy units of the iPhone 16. We've got some new leaks talking about thinner bezels and big upgrades and improvements and colors. iPhone 16 is shaping up to be pretty exciting, but Apple still does their fall event for a reason. Don't get your hopes up because we will not be getting the iPhone 16 early, no sneak peek, as fun as that might be. We'll get some software stuff, which I'll talk about in a moment, that will be relevant to the iPhone 16, but any iPhone hardware announcement, probably not going to happen, though there is one exception, but we'll come back to that more in a moment. A couple other products getting an upgrade in 2024 are a couple of brand new AirPods models. AirPods Max, long overdue for an upgrade. We're hearing new colors and a USB-C port are in the works, but probably won't be happening in WWDC. Maybe we could see them, but probably not. Also, AirPods Lite. We're getting more and more rumors now by the day that Apple is ready to launch a new lower cost sub $100 version of AirPods. But again, this is more of a consumer product and this is more of a developer event. So Apple could do it, but they usually do AirPods announcements in the fall. So while these new AirPods are coming this year, likely won't be seeing them this summer. But that doesn't mean all hardware is off the table for this June because, as we've seen time and time again, Apple has given us some new products at this WWDC event. I mean, last year we got Vision Pro, which, can you believe it's been a year? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Anyways, a couple of products we could see at this event include basically a slew of new Macs, and it's basically going to be every Mac that isn't on the M3 architecture right now. So that would be Mac Mini, that would be Mac Studio, and Mac Pro. Okay, but I gotta stop now and address the beginning statement of this video, and that was Apple admitting they were wrong. What do I mean by this? Well, what I do mean by this is sort of the context of what is coming next, with iOS 18 expected to be not just one of the stars of the show at Apple's WWDC event, but we're hearing right now that this might be one of, if not the most significant iPhone software updates ever. It sounds like Apple is basically going back to the drawing boards for iOS 18. They're not only going to give us a new design, but they're going to fix a lot of the fundamental issues that iOS has had for years. It's stuff like not being as customizable or accessible as some users would like, and also fixing a lot of the big issues that have persisted on the iPhone for years. One of the biggest being Siri. Launched by Apple in 2011, Siri was, in its heyday, a really cool virtual assistant that seemed to have a lot of promise. But over and over again, Siri has gotten dumber and dumber and dumber. And not only did the competition surpass Apple and Siri years ago, but every couple of years, it seemed like clockwork. An Apple executive would come out on stage, they'd give a couple of jokes, how, Siri could use some improvement. But this was the year it was better, smarter, and gonna be more feature-packed. And that just never happened. Every single year without fail, Apple promised a better Siri, but we never got a better Siri. And Android fanboys mocked us for years, kind of rightfully so, because Siri sucked and still sucks. But all that is set to finally change this year, not because Apple cracked the code, even though they spent billions and billions of dollars reportedly trying to fix their own in-house AI and make it better, but because they finally have admitted defeat and are going to the competition, Google, OpenAI, and others, and trying to find a way to strike a deal so they can license their smarts and their AI prowess and bring it into the iPhone and other products, specifically starting with iOS 18. Which seems to be the route they're going to bring some AI improvements and enhancements and new AI features to our devices. Again, apparently being a big part of what Apple's doing with iOS 18. Not only does it have a redesigned interface and sort of a Vision Pro-esque like design language that should be new and exciting and fresh, but also supposed to have a lot of AI stuff built in. Exactly what that is, we don't know, but AI is included and hopefully going to be powered by a way, way better brain. And not Siri. And while, of course, iOS 18 is probably going to be the star of the show, we will see some other software updates at WWDC as well. We've got, what is it these days? It's a long list. tvOS, watchOS, iPadOS, macOS, visionOS 2.0 will be here as well. And we haven't heard anything significant on any of those software updates. iOS 18 is getting all the news and rumors right now. So while all this stuff is expected, probably not going to be as significant as years past, as iOS 18 is apparently taking a lot of the brain power and development power this year. Though it will be interesting to see what visionOS 2.0 brings. Hopefully Apple's able to fix some of the issues with 1.0, add some new features, and it'll be interesting to see how software is going to enhance Vision Pro as it sort of matures in its life cycle, as new hardware isn't expected for quite some time. So having that new software should add some new features, make it better, and maybe convince some people on the fence to jump on in and try Vision Pro, as the software experience should get more refined with 2.0 coming later in a couple months, basically this summer, and probably a larger release this fall. Finally, let's talk for just a moment about some wild cards. What could we see as the big surprise announcement or one more thing at Apple's WWDC event? Well, we know Apple Car got canceled, so that's totally out. We'll probably never see that again. Though we're hearing that Apple is working on robots apparently now, which seems like a really weird transition. Isn't Amazon doing home robots and they kind of suck? That sort of seems like a weird rumor. We have heard that Apple could be working on some upgraded displays. So new Studio Display, new Pro Display XDR. Not super exciting for a lot of people, but if you are in that market, that could be something we potentially see, though rumors on that have been pretty sparse for a while. Though I will mention one thing that I wouldn't take off the table that we could see this year, maybe even as early as June, is an all-new iPhone SE, specifically this all-new upgraded iPhone SE 4 that's supposed to be like the best budget iPhone Apple has ever made. It's going to have an iPhone 14 design, going to have a 6.1-inch OLED display, Touch ID is out, Face ID is in, USB-C port, action button, 48-megapixel camera, some great colors. This is shaping up to be a really exciting iPhone, and while most rumors say, I should say in all honesty, say probably 2025 is when this thing releases, we have seen an uptick in rumors and even alleged dummy models and sort of prototypes of this iPhone, which sort of makes me think maybe it's coming sooner than later. This is definitely a wild card. I'm not going to say it's going to happen or not, but I will say that this does seem to be a pretty exciting upgrade and could be sort of a nice surprise that Apple gives us at this June event, specifically because this phone usually releases in the spring. I believe the last couple of years it's been a spring release, not usually tied to the fall, so maybe something we see, maybe not, but just going to throw that out there as my one more thing prediction, as something I'd like to see. As always, always, I want to know your thoughts on this. What do you think about Apple sort of admitting defeat with Siri? Is it better that they're doing this? Is it worse? Would you be okay to sort of give up a little bit of that Apple privacy for having a better AI chatbot, whatever you want to call it, experience and have better features on your phone? Of course, I'm sure Apple's going to take security as a paramount feature, but this should be interesting to see how it plays out. So let me know your thoughts down below, what you'd want to see at WWDC. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for your support. I'm Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I'll see you all in the next one.